Hey there. Hey everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I'm Shanta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. And I do this by providing thought provoking content and then also sharing resources and information and bringing people onto my show that have lived experiences and that are professionals in their areas of expertise. For today's topic, we're going to talk about mind, body, and soul. We're talking about mental health. And my guest, LaTonya Gaston in Las Vegas, she's a licensed clinical mental health therapist. And we'll talk about how she is integrating the faith based community and wellness together, and we'll address stigma around mental illness and around seeking help for mental illness. And then also we'll talk about suicide prevention. September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And just so you all know, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. And in Nevada, where I'm from and where LaTonya lives, she recently was telling me that it is actually the eighth leading cause of death in Nevada. For our young people in this country, ages 10 to 34, suicide is the second leading cause of death. And so we'll talk about suicide prevention. LaTonya will share her personal lived experience with suicide. And then also we'll talk about, shift it a little bit and talk about how she's integrating the faith-based community and wellness. And she'll give us some tips on addressing mental illness. And then, and just wherever else the conversation takes us, please be sure to ask your questions and put your comments in the chat box. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. And at this time, everyone, I'll bring on my guest again, LaTonya R. Gaston. She is a licensed clinical mental health therapist in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, LaTonya, how are you today?
I am well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you. I kind of paused a little bit in the introduction because I really wasn't sure. But yesterday you posted something on Facebook. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read it. It was your notes, Dear Suicide. You said, Dear Suicide, you have affected many across the nation, and now you have personally affected me. You took my father, the man that gave me life. You lied to him and told him that this was the way to rid pain and strife. The emotional pain you have caused my family and I will never be forgotten. However, you don't care because you tricked a soldier into believing that suicide can win. I fight against your tricks and schemes every day because the thought of losing another soul forces me to fall on my knees and pray. This hurts me to my core because I know there were so many things God had in store. You took his dreams and passions and threw them away. Oh, the hurt, pain, and anguish you must have been feeling on that dreadful day. I wish I could have stopped him, I really do. My father's life will always be remembered because everything I do from this day forward is in honor of you. LaTonya, rest in heaven, Daddy. Suicide prevention, your story isn't over yet.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was
my goodness. Yeah. I wrote that maybe 2 weeks after my dad was found dead. And, I don't even know why I'm wanting to cry because I was good. But just hearing those words, I know that they were genuine. They came from my heart. And it's really a testament of how grief will hit you at any time, at any moment. I was actually sitting in the parking lot or in the driveway of a Dunkin' Donut when I wrote that. And I actually had an episode where I just could not stop crying because of it. But yes, unfortunately, I am now a victim of someone who has committed suicide, and that someone happens to be my dad.
Okay. And your father and your mother's a pastor, and your father was
Yes.
also a pastor.
Yes.
How does how did that, were there any signs? Because usually they like I was reading and listening to some interviews, and I was reading that a sign of it, and everyone has different signs, so it's not all one size fits all, but usually people sometimes they start giving things away, or they make certain comments. Were there any signs that you can think of?
So growing up, my dad suffered from mental illness. He suffered with depression, and I don't think that while I was growing up, we had a great childhood, but I don't think that I really paid much attention to that because I was young, growing up, and just not really focusing on that. But as I reflect on my childhood and things that my mom has shared with my siblings and I realized that yes, there were signs. And I believe my mom did the best that she could to be supportive of him. But, you know, usually the people who commit suicide, who are really ready to commit suicide, it doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter what you do, how present you are, or what supports you give them. If it's in their mind to end their lives, that's what they're going to do. And so growing up, like I said, I really didn't see them, but now I recognize that he did have some episodes. You know, there were episodes like he had a car accident where he ran himself into a wall, you know, to try to end his life, but he said the car accident was something else. You know, like he tried to cover things. He was very isolated, very private. You know, I was his baby girl. Like I'm the number one, I'm the firstborn. So my dad would never tell me anything like that. I tried to be present. We all tried to be present. But in the end, my dad just didn't want to have anything to do with us because he knew that we would stop it.
And is with growing up with your father having a mental illness, is that something that drove you into the career of mental health?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That in collaboration with, I just am a born helper. I've always wanted to help. I've always wanted to make things better and a nurturer for people, for family. And so it was just my right. You know, it was just the direction that I felt God wanted my life to go. This is my God assignment. I love it. And now, you know, I said something today that I fought. I worked to heal. I worked to help and to guide people prior to my father's death because I'm a therapist. However, now my meaning and purpose has shifted. And now, you know, I have such a passion for it because this feeling, I would not want anybody else to feel this. It's just crazy.
You said that if someone wants to do it, wants to inflict self-harm and wants to take their life, that there's nothing that you can do about it. And are you saying that coming from a place from where a family member or a loved one may feel like they were responsible and that they could have stopped it? Are you coming from that place, or are you, because, and the reason I'm asking that is because there's different interventions in psychology, different models that, like, for example, like social and behavioral models on mindfulness and different strategies to help when people are in a safe space and a healthy space in their mind to teach them coping and coping skills and how to deflect and how to change their mind so that so there is a way to help, but so those different strategies are more so for the professional. But when you said that you couldn't help, are you coming from a place of a loved one?
I'm coming from a place of a loved one, but all of that is good. But if the person doesn't want help, if the person if the person lacks motivation to even reach out for that olive branch, and they're not going to admit it to people that they love. So I'm speaking from a daughter perspective. From a therapist perspective, absolutely. We have to disclose when a person or a client wants to self-harm, even if we see by observation that they just don't look well. It is our obligation to keep them safe. However, when a family member, and in this case, my dad, he stayed away because he knew that we would recognize it. And even when I called him and I talked to him, he presented that he was okay. He was fine. Even up till maybe 2 or 3 days, he spoke to my mom. He spoke to my dad. He spoke to my brother. And so, sometimes the signs are there, but there is nothing that you can do as far as a family member because his mind was set. And that's really all I can say about that.
Okay. And for those of you who are watching, thanks for joining today's conversation. We're talking about mental health. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, so that's why we're talking about this. Below is a phone number. There's a 24/7 helpline. It's a national helpline. The phone number is there. And this phone number is for anyone who is in distress, but also if you are a family member and or you have a loved one that you're concerned about, this is also a line for you to maybe speak to someone and to gather resources. And if you are a public health or mental health professional or someone who's involved in any community-based organization or any type of setting and you're looking for resources, this is also a phone number to call for you to call to be able to identify those resources as well. Okay. And so LaTonya, tell me what does this mean to integrate the faith-based community and wellness together? What does that mean? And what does that mean?
This means so much to me personally because I am a PK, a pastor's kid. And so I grew up in the church, which means that I've seen so many situations. I've seen depression. I've seen anxiety. I've seen anger. I've seen pretty much everything that you could, in the DSM, I've seen it in the church. And I've also heard it. I've heard it in the church, but I've also seen how people believe and they switch gears to try to associate mental illness with you having a lack of faith or with you being weak or you needing to go pray a little bit more. And so I am wanting to integrate it because they need to know that it's okay for you to have Jesus and also have a therapist. Jesus was one of the greatest psychotherapists ever. People came to him to get healed. People came to him for help. People came to talk to him and get advice. And so he encourages therapy. He encourages wise counsel. And so I just want to shift the belief system of the Christian community so that they can get help and live their blessed and best lives.
And do you feel that, so yes, pray, or like you were saying, people don't have enough faith. Do you feel that sometimes the content, so we're speaking about Christianity now, but for me, so I was born and raised, I was raised Baptist. Mm-hmm. And I consider myself, I guess if I had to categorize myself, I would say that I'm non-denominational and that I'm spiritual, not religious. And I do defer to the Bible. I actually prefer King James Version versus the other the other newer versions. So King James, and I actually read the Old Testament. Mm-hmm. I'm not really I just really haven't taken in years a dive into the New Testament. So the Old Testament, which if we're talking Judaism, is the Torah. Yes. And then also I've started to read a little bit of the Quran. And I had the opportunity to visit Thailand, and I learned about Buddhism, and which they consider more so a way of life instead of a religion. And so, but in reading all these different things, and they all, and what they all are, I think the truth is the truth. And I think that at the end of the day, I mean, you have people from all over the world who know nothing about Islam. You know, people all over the world who know nothing about Christianity. But when you bring people together and this philosophy and these spiritual beliefs, at the end of the day, they all have something in common. They're pretty much saying the same thing. And so for me, you know, the truth is the truth. I seek knowledge and wisdom and understanding. However, I can, and this is even with me, I can see that there are some things that make you just that conflicts with your mind.
Yeah.
And this is like, I'm not supposed to be thinking like this. I'm not supposed to be doing this. This is wrong according to this. And, you know, so how do you think that, like, just the messaging, and sometimes I know pastors and leaders of faith-based communities, they have their own approach to, you know, to what they believe and what's, you know, what's a sin, what's not a sin. But are there, when you're consulting with individuals in private, in addition to not having enough faith, are there conflicting things that people are reading or interpreting from the Bible or from the messages from these sermons that's coming up for you?
From my experience, no. Because when someone does make the decision to come to me, it's not even about that. However, I can see where that would be a problem, because sometimes people take, and my dad used to say this all the time, people read the Bible and they take what they want out of it to shape it, you know, and pattern it for their lives. So, I mean, I can see where that would be a problem. However, in my experience, I'm really very genuine. I'm very transparent, and in my own mind, I'm very warm and welcoming. And so people they really want to get to the meat of what's troubling them, you know, and sometimes it is church. Sometimes it's church drama. Sometimes it's depression. Sometimes it's family conflict. Sometimes it's just, you know, I need to learn how to manage my symptoms. But for the most part, once I think once they get the idea that therapy is good, it can be a great experience, you know, because what happens is it helps you live a better life. This is not about Christianity. It's about you and your journey. What is troubling you? You've tried faith, you tried prayer, you tried fasting, you tried reading the scriptures, you tried talking to your pastor, and you're still experiencing these things. So maybe we need to look at another approach. And so that is what I try to encourage, you know, because really it's all about them. It's not even about that other stuff. It's about eliminating those barriers. It's about getting out of your own way. It's about moving the distractions so that you can be healed.
Okay. And so what's the name of your church?
My church is God's House International Ministries. And Frank Gaston, and I have Apostle Gregory Kirby.
Okay. And do you, and I was reading that you're on the praise team, and then also you're, and help me with the title, but basically you run like the mental health ministry at your church. Is that correct?
Correct.
And tell me, what does that look like? Like, what are some of the activities or different things that happen?
Okay, so in the past, we're in the process of transitioning right now because of COVID. So, but prior to COVID, I helped monthly groups for psychoeducation, just so that I can increase the community's awareness, not only my church, but the community's awareness. Members from my church were welcome to come, as well as other members in the community to come. And we talked about different areas of mental illness, such as depression, schizophrenia, anxiety, suicidal ideation, what that looks like, how to support a family member who you think may be suffering, as well as I provide resources to anyone and everyone in my church. Like, they know to come to me, or they know to call me if they need help, or they know to get to me if they need some help. And so, of course, we are in the developing stages of our mental wellness department, but we are going to branch out and do more things once COVID is, we're free from COVID.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about stigma.
Okay.
And then we can talk about, I guess, gender between men and women. For the individuals that come to you most, are they mostly female or male or both?
It's crazy because when I started, I used to only want to provide therapy for youth, girls, troubled girls, and with conflictual relationships with their mother, and just troubled youth girls. And then I branched out, and I wanted to work with just women, but now God has enlarged my territory, and I am just open and welcoming. So I have women and men, and I'm okay with that. And I see that more men are coming because they realize they can't continue in this way. They've ruined their marriage. They've lost jobs. They've ruined friendships. They've done things that they regret, and they see that there is something there that they need help. And they don't care who it is. I think a lot of them come to me because I'm more personal. I'm personal, I'm relatable, and I think I'm kind of genuine. So I just tell it like it is. So people like to talk to people that they can relate to, and people that they know are not going to give them the runaround. So that's what I found. So my population would include men, women, and teenagers.
Based off of your training and your experience, what are some of the most common forms of mental disorders or mental illness?
Okay, so the most common form would be depression. Many people refer to it as bipolar, bipolar depression. We have anxiety. That's a very, very prevalent one. As far as, schizophrenia is another one. Insomnia, adjustment disorders. Adjustment disorders are the milder ones, like if you move, if you go through a divorce or a loss of a loved one. PTSD is another one. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. But there are so many disorders in the diagnostical statistical manual of mental illnesses. It's called the DSM. There are so many mental illnesses that are out there that people are suffering from, and I want them to get some help, but it cannot just be my need or my want. It has to also be their need and their want.
And I know I opened and I said mental disorders and mental illness, but let's talk about mental wellness. Because I kind of want to shift. I want to be mindful of the language that I'm using and not to further stigmatize. Some of these things that you mentioned, anxiety, depression, as a result of having to move, having to social isolate, and you might have some feelings of loneliness, which is a little bit different from social isolation. Just because you're isolated doesn't necessarily mean that you're lonely, or like a death of someone close to you. So I would think that for all of us, it's actually normal as a part of life to have these feelings, right? But it's when it's continuous, and when we can't function, and when we feel like we're losing control of our mind, or we're having certain thoughts, then that's when we need to seek help.
Absolutely. Most of these things, because trauma happens to us all, life happens to us all. And so that nobody is exempt. But what makes it serious is when, just like you said, when your daily functioning is impaired, is interrupted, you can't go to work because you're crying all day, or because you can't even get out of bed. You're depressed. You're just so down and so sad. You're feeling worthless. You're feeling hopeless. You're feeling guilty. So when your daily functioning is impaired, that's when it is recommended that you seek help from a mental health professional. You don't even have to go to a mental health professional first. You can go to your primary doctor and tell your primary doctor, listen, this is what's going on with me. I've been feeling this, that, and the other, and they can give you a referral. And when you do that, most of the time they are they're not judging, but they are measuring you. They're assessing by observation what your body looks like, what your face looks like, what kind of signals you're giving off. Because if it's really serious, they're not even going to let you leave their office without getting you some help. So yes, that's exactly what happens when your functioning is impaired. It is recommended that you go seek services.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the comment box really quick.
Okay.
So Marquella Jackson, my cousin in Las Vegas, she says, what a great conversation to have. Shamika Green, she says, good morning, ladies. Thank you for speaking on this topic. Good morning. For me, it's afternoon. I'm on the East Coast. So good afternoon, Shamika Green. And then Christy McGee, my cousin in Mississippi, she says, I am a mental health counselor. I also had an uncle who was a minister and took his own life, so I can relate.
Wow.
And when you were speaking, she says, wow, this is confirmation for me to open up my own counseling agency.
Wow. Go ahead, sis. That's all I can say. Do what you need to do, sis.
And you know what? These comments, they're really motivational for me. And we were speaking offline before we got on, and I was just kind of telling you how sometimes you just as a human, you kind of question, why am I doing this? Does it make sense? And one thing that I tell myself is that as long as I'm helping people and I'm providing thought-provoking content, I'm providing resources, that's all that matters, right?
Absolutely. We're both in the helping profession. And so I think that we're both doing what we were supposed to do. Everything is happening the way that it's supposed to happen. So to God be the glory.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for tuning in. And let's talk a little bit about your upcoming book. So I also wrote a book. It's The Journal of a Woman with Lived Experiences, a 21-day journal. And for those of you who don't have it, go to my website, shantajackson.com. It's only available on my website. And so what I did in preparation, so I share my personal journal entries. Mm-hmm. And then I also provide, it's a guide. So I provide space for the reader to write, and I provide journal prompts. And we talk about positive affirmations and gratitude, life visioning, managing stress and anxiety, self-validation, not depending on someone else, and independence, and a lot of these different things. Relationships. How do we want to? How should we love ourselves? What are our standards, our expectations, and how do we communicate with that partner, and what's ideal for us? And one of the things that I say is that my book, it also may prompt individuals and to actually seek professional help, because there is a form of a way of, or a such thing as self-therapy, self-coaching, self-motivation, and to get us to this level of what we call self-actualization. And usually once we reach that level of self-actualization, and once we have that confidence within ourselves, then that's when we're actually able to help others as well. And so in the process of writing the book, I was doing some research, and I was looking at, so I have my master's in public health, social and behavioral health. So I'm reading about different behavioral theories and positive psychology. And so you too, you are starting your series of self-help guides and journals. Could you please tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I'm so excited about the birth of my purpose. I just, I told myself that I really wanted to do something that was great. I wanted to share my journey with the community and with people who suffer from trauma and have gone through several things in their lives that that makes them ask themselves, why? Why am I here? What is the purpose? What is happening? And how do I get out of here? And so I just figured out, after my dad's death, I figured that I needed to share my journey. because I learned a long time ago that my life is a testimony, and it's not for myself, it's for everybody else. I'm a living miracle, I'm a living testimony, and I just believe that my book will help somebody just as much as it helped me. It really blessed me while I wrote it. I wrote it 4 days after my dad died. And it, the thing is, we were in COVID and we had to quarantine. And so I wanted to really, really give purpose to me staying in the house. I wanted to make sure I was productive. And so every day I wrote. Every day I wrote. I stayed up the night I decided I wanted to write. I stayed up the entire night writing about this book. The format, how I wanted to lay it out, and the things that I wanted to discuss. And I think by the very next morning, I had the whole 31 days. I had the whole 31 days laid out, and I knew exactly what I wanted to say and the things that I wanted to talk about. And I just really wanted to talk about my trauma and how my trauma birthed my purpose. And it's just not about the death of my father by suicide. I've gone through a lot of other things in my life: toxic relationships, loss of job, sometimes feeling inadequate, and so I'm really being transparent in this, in my journey. And I really would like for the people and my readers to be transparent and also know what they're facing and be willing to put in the work. One thing I really like about my book, which I really like the whole book, but one thing I really do like about it, once you open the first page, there is a page where you can sign on for your commitment to change and to do your work. And so this is just you taking ownership of wanting to become a better you. You being willing to do the work and do the things that you have to do, and not placing blame on other people, but you being willing to do what you need to do to become a better you. So, my book right now is available for pre-order, and you can visit my website. That's www.LaTonyaGaston.com to get more information. And, I'm just excited about it. And I just can't wait. I just can't wait to get positive feedback. I can't wait to hear what people think about it. It's just, I'm still in shock. I'm still in amazement. Every time somebody says something like, me, that's my name, so it's just a wonderful feeling to have your trauma to birth your purpose, and for me to be walking in the purpose and in the direction that God has always intended for me to walk.
Thank you for that. And so for pre-order, so we can pre-order the book right now. Yes. And the name of your book is Journey to Wellness, Becoming a Better You. And so the instructions are to visit your website to pre-order?
Yes, they can visit my website to pre-order the book, because it's only for pre-order on the website. Yeah.
And one more time.
The name of the website is www.LaTonyaGaston.com.
Perfect. And what I'll do, everyone, now is I'll put LaTonya's name again on the screen. So LaTonyaGaston.com.
Yes.
And before we close out, LaTonya, what's your vision for yourself? You're working locally in Las Vegas as a mental health professional. You're involved in your church, and you have these this series of self-help guides and journals coming out. Like, what's your vision for yourself? What do you go back and think about?
Listen, if somebody could go in this head, I think they would be tired, because my mind continuously runs and I have so many different ideas. But my vision for myself right now today is to, first, I want to always be true to myself. I want to always make sure that I am loving on myself and I am accepting of the journey that I'm in, because this journey right now involves me healing and me loving and me being aware of what I feel first, so that I can be transparent and be able to help others. Another part of my vision would have to do with my dad was a pastor, and so I want to open a foundation in his honor. It's called Olive Branch Pastoral Care Foundation. I also am doing a soft launch this month of Olive Branch Pastoral Care. And what that is, it's going to be an agency that is going to just service pastors with and teach self-care, have donations so that they can go and get some rest, offer clinical services, psychoeducation, therapy services, group therapy. I want to be able to help pastors because that's the thing. My dad was a pastor, and that's so near and dear to me. And like I said before, I just want to be able to help whomever wants to help. So my vision is that I continue to walk in God's purpose for me. And this is what he has designed for me at this time.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm about to cry.
No, don't cry. Don't cry. We're done with that. We're done with that.
Yeah. And Christy McGee, she says, awesome idea for you. And my mother, Belinda Norwood, and she's watching on YouTube. She says,
Okay.
great topic. Anxiety and depression is a hard task, and therapy does help.
Yes, it does. I'm so proud of her for going. Because that's a big step that many people are reluctant to take. So congratulations. Thank you.
Yes. And we have another comment, LaTonya Watry, and my cousin in Las Vegas. She's on Facebook, and she says, it is a blessing to know and understand your purpose. Professional help can help you heal from trauma and help you find your purpose in this life.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely in agreement. Yes.
Well, LaTonya, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. Thank you for sharing your personal experience. I know that's not something that's easy to do, especially considering that your father passed away in March of this year. So that's really, really recent. Yes. So my prayers and best wishes to you and to your family.
Thank you.
And just good luck on your journey and to helping others on their journey to wellness and to becoming a better themselves, right?
That's right. That's right.
So again, everyone, I'm Shanta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. You can learn more about me at shantajackson.com, and to pre-order LaTonya's book, visit her website at LaTonyaGaston.com. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.